Hi, this is Aaron Wilson. Texans general manager Nick Caserio has shown a penchant for trading, being one of the more active general managers in terms of maneuvering in the draft. So while they have the 25th overall pick currently, don't be surprised if that's not where they wind up picking. They could move up, they could move back, or they could stay pat at 25 overall and get a player that they covet. There are a lot of good scenarios for the Texans. And one of the things we watch besides the trading activity is the pre-draft activity. And as you've seen from this channel, and of course on social media and at KPRC2 and www.click2houston.com, I've been monitoring and reporting the Texans' draft visits and other activity that they've had. So it doesn't tell you the whole story about what they're going to do, but it's interesting. It's a piece of the puzzle and it's information. So we've seen the Texans bring in players, top players, for visits previously, and then draft them, like C.J. Stroud, like Will Anderson Jr. So it's not always a case of, well, you have no idea who they're going to pick. They didn't talk to this player. He's completely shocked to be a Texan. In many cases, the player came away from their visit feeling like this might be their, not their last time going to NRG Stadium, that they were going to wind up playing for DeMeco Ryans. So we'll see how many of these players that they met with are they going to draft. So let's go through the latest batch of players that we're reporting on and kind of go through some of these visits. And one of them was, and this is kind of a trend, with the offensive line. We've talked about Josh Connolly Jr. from Oregon. We've also talked about how they met with Charles Grant from William & Mary. So they also had a visit with University of Minnesota left offensive tackle Arante Ursary, consensus All-American, Big Ten Offensive Lineman of the Year, and he's in pretty heavy demand. And he got visits so far with the New York Jets, the Kansas City Chiefs, New Orleans Saints, New England Patriots, Cincinnati Bengals, Carolina Panthers, and the Minnesota Vikings. And he's regarded as a potential late first-round draft pick or second-round draft target, and he's absolutely massive. He's 6'6", he's 331 pounds, heavy hands, quick feet, good leverage. I like the way he played. If you guys, and this is embedded in the article I wrote about Ursary, the way he shut down Abdul Carter. They were one-on-one throughout that game, and he matched him step for step. He prevented him from using his superior speed. He got consistent hand punch, kept his shoulder square, did not lose leverage. I was very impressed. I was also impressed with how he performed at the Senior Bowl. So they met with an even bigger name, one of the best small school linemen to come out in the draft in years. And that's North Dakota State All-American offensive tackle Gray Zabel. And he's one of the highest graded blockers in all of college football. And he visited the Texans. So he was there the other day. And he also has a visit with the Detroit Lions. He did great at the Senior Bowl, showed that he can play against all the top guys that are from bigger colleges, from Power 5. We've seen Nick Caserio have something in a aversion to small school guys. He's more of an SEC and Big Ten type of drafting general manager, but maybe Zabel's so good that it doesn't matter. And this guy's a great athlete at 6'6", 312. And you saw how, he had a 36.5-inch vertical leap, 225-pound bench press 26 times, played all over the offensive line, left tackle, left guard, right tackle, first-team All-American, started every game for the national championship team, and has a great mindset, great attitude. Liked his combine interview, talking with Gray about his mentality for the game and wanting to learn and wanting to get better. So that's pretty much music to the ears of any offensive line coach. And I think he fits the mold of what they want in terms of culture. So yeah, keep an eye on Gray Zabel. It's not just going to be about maybe Kelvin Banks or one of these other offensive linemen. I think that Zabel's under heavy consideration too, because he can play guard, he can play tackle, he can even play center. He's a very smart football player. They also met with one of the better defensive tackles. And D-tackle is a position we've talked about, Alfred Collins. There's another big visit coming up, and it's going to be this week if they don't, change the schedule. But right now the player is scheduled to visit, so we'll report that later this week if that comes about. But they met with Ohio State standout defensive tackle Tyleik Williams, And he's also visited the Philadelphia Eagles, Buffalo Bills, Green Bay Packers. This week, San Francisco 49ers, Baltimore Ravens, Detroit Lions. Projected somewhere from the bottom of the first round to the middle of the second round. Don't know if they'll pick him, but certainly would think that he is an appropriate player for the 25th overall. 6'3", 334. 46 tackles last season, 8 for losses, 2.5 sacks for the national champion Buckeyes. Missed 3 games with an injury. Healthy now. 3rd team All Big Ten Conference 2 years in a row. And 2 seasons ago, when he played a whole season, 54 tackles, 10 for losses, 3 sacks, 5 passes broken up. So he's drawn a lot of comparisons to Aleem McNeil from the Detroit Lions. He's an outstanding player, so that's a good one. They also met with Chase Lunt. That's from Connecticut, 6'7.5", 300. Has a visit with the Seahawks and did the New England Patriots and Dallas Cowboys local prospect days. 4-year starter. He is a pure right tackle, and he had over 3,000 career snaps, so real nasty streak, ability to finish. Could get a little bit stronger. I think he's someone that he's from Arlington. He's from the Dallas area, and I think that he is an ascending player. Where you would pick him, I think 3rd round probably is probably the target for Chase Lunt. So we'll see if they were to pick Chase, but he's a good football player. Also did well at the Senior Bowl. They brought in a pure center guard in Michigan State offensive lineman Luke Newman, did well at the East-West Shrine Bowl, and he visited the Texans on Wednesday, this past Wednesday, so just a few days ago. And as you know, the Texans have overhauled the offensive line. Laramie Tunsil out, Shaq Mason out, and Kenyon Green out, while adding Cam Robinson, Laken Tomlinson, Ed Ingram, Trent Brown. And Newman also met with the Detroit Lions, and he is center at 6'3", nearly 6'4", 6'3 and 4/8, 308 pounds. And he ran a 5.08 40-yard dash. That is fast. Bench press 225 pounds 29 times, 35-inch vertical leap. That shows explosiveness. Transferred from Holy Cross and was able to jump to the Big Ten Conference, and it wasn't too big for him. He was a 3-time All-Patriot League guy, and I can tell you this, that the Texans have a high opinion of him, and he is definitely a versatile blocker, good player, could play inside. We've talked about other running backs. They did have a Zoom with Travion Henderson. They've also had a visit from Judgens from Ohio State and Brashard Smith from SMU. And so the Texans have had consistent interest in the running back position. And they had a good one in. Iowa All-American running back Caleb Johnson. And he visited the Texans, previously visited the Broncos and the Titans. This is the Big Ten Conference Running Back of the Year, finalist for the Doak Walker Award. And really big, strong runner at 6'1", 224, good vision and power. And last year, 1,537 yards, school single season record, 21 touchdowns, scored 138 total points, averaged 6.4 yards per carry, downhill runner, 1,725 all-purpose yards, school record 23 total touchdowns. And he's not a burner, but he's 4.57. He's fast enough. And it looks like the Texans are in the market for a running back to go with Joe Mixon. Interesting concept. And Nick Haley, I've been hearing more and more about how he wants to use the tight ends and he wants to pound the football. All good things. It makes sense to me. And beyond the visits, the Texans on Friday, they had their annual local prospect day. What that means is players geographically from local colleges like University of Houston, Texas A&M, and Sam Houston State. And they have also rights to bring in players that went to high school in the Houston area. So Rice, also another local college that's represented at the university, at the local pro day. So looking at what they did, and I had a chance to interview a few of the players that came in, including LSU running back Josh Williams, who's a Kincaid graduate, Kincaid School. He said that he got there around 5:45 in the morning, so it was pretty much dark out when he got there. They had breakfast, and then they met briefly with D'Amico Ryans, heard from Nick Caserio. They went through a series of tests. They met with the position coaches. In his case, he met with Danny Barrett, the running backs coach and assistant head coach. Really loved being at the Texans. He also did the New Orleans Saints local prospect day, and he told me he would just love to play for his hometown team. This is a nice third down back and kick returner. All he lacks is size in terms of height. 5'8", 196 pounds, 42-inch vertical leap, outstanding. That would have been the best of any running back. Ran a 4.45 40 at the LSU Pro Day, 10.2 broad jump, did 23 reps in the bench press. So he said he had a great experience, told me that he really liked meeting with the Texans, and last year 428 yards, 6 touchdowns, and 1,494 career yards. He was a walk-on at LSU, and he earned this scholarship. And he says they would get a hard worker, someone with a chip on their shoulder, someone that would prove himself and put in the necessary work to make it to the next level. Says he has great character. And let me run down the entire list. I'll talk slowly because I want you guys to hear the names. This article is also up at www.clicktohouston.com. And I've tweeted all of these, I think with the exception of one that I haven't got a chance to tweet, but he's in the list. So here we go. LSU running back Josh Williams. Northwestern tight end Thomas Gordon, a straight Jesuit graduate. Texas A&M linebacker Solomon DeShields. Texas A&M corner BJ Mays, who's a Heights graduate, 4th in the SEC last year with 4 interceptions, a long corner at 6'1", about 190, and BJ also led the Aggies in interceptions. Texas linebacker David Gabinda from Cinco Ranch High School, and South Carolina wide receiver DeLevon Campbell, Fort Bend Marshall graduate, big wide receiver, 6'3", 220, 4.34 speed, one of the more athletic players they brought in, also meeting with the Carolina Panthers. So then they had Rice cornerback Sean Fresh, who has return skills. You probably saw the article about Sean Fresh, and Josh Percy, an edge, who also did the Eagles local prospect day. He is from New Jersey, so that was where he went, near where he went to high school. But Fresh, 4.38 to 4.40 speed, good punt returner, and just a really good athlete. University of Houston quarterback Donovan Smith had a tough season last year due to a shoulder injury. I'm told he's healthy now. He had a tough season. He did also meet with the Indianapolis Colts for their local prospect day. His dad is their running backs coach, so interesting. The Cougs kicker, Jack Martin, who made the game winner against Utah, 8 of 10 on field goals last year, has missed no extra points, perfect on extra points, the past 2 seasons. And defensive end Keith Cooper, second team All Big 12, Tulane transfer. A big guy at 6'3", 280, that had a 30-inch vertical leap, did well at the Big 12 Pro Day. I was told he did a good job, and they are looking for a young developmental defensive lineman, and his best football definitely ahead of him. Led the Cougs in tackles for losses and sacks, so interesting player. Maybe late round, maybe undrafted. They brought in Ajani Carter, a nice tall corner, and he also tested well at the Big 12. They had in Kentucky defensive back Zion Childress, who's a New Caney grad. He's a Texas State transfer. He's a 2-time team captain at Kentucky and just made a lot of tackles. He was really productive for the Wildcats. Sam Houston State wide receiver Ife Adeye, who caught the game-winning touchdown when they won the football championship subdivision national championship. He ran 4.28 to 4.35 at the Bearcats Pro Day, and the Texans ran that Pro Day, and then they brought him in for this local day. So that was interesting. They brought in University of Texas offensive guard. He can also play center, Hayden Connor. He's a Katy Taylor graduate, and he was a finalist for the Joe Moore Award for the nation's top offensive lineman. They had in Rice offensive lineman, a Nebraska transfer, Brant Banks, who's 6'7", 315. He's from Westbury Christian. They had in Texas A&M wide receiver Jade Walker, who's a deep threat and a big receiver at about 6'3" and change. Aggies tight end Trey Watson, another good athlete. Alabama Birmingham linebacker Michael Moore, 6'5", 245, Pearland High School. Had 92 tackles and a couple of interceptions. Nice player. Hawaii All-Conference defensive back Cam Stones from Angleton, and he had 5 interceptions for Hawaii. So they bring in a player all the way from the islands back to the mainland. So he visits the Texans. Don't know if they had to buy him a plane ticket or if he was in town, but yeah, good to see they look all over the world, including Hawaii, for football players. TCU tight end Drake Dabney from Cypress Ranch, George Ranch High School. So they bring in Dabney. And Missouri linebacker Corey Flagg Jr., who's a University of Miami transfer, was a state champion at North Shore, one of the best programs. And I want to drop a nugget here at the end about an upcoming visit with another North Shore guy. And I had a chance to interview him the other day. He was working out with Ja'Cory Nichols and Kool-Aid McKistry and DJ Turner, the corner. And he was out there doing the drills. Upton Stout, Western Kentucky, Senior Bowl standout, great athlete, just short, but a really interesting nickel, someone that can play in the slot, someone that can play outside, and really great play strength, really good feet. And you guys probably saw the video on my Instagram, and I'll be working on some content with him in the next few days on an article about Upton Stout and his journey from North Texas to Western Kentucky, turned down big-time offers from Notre Dame and Michigan to play his final season for Western Kentucky and then declare for the draft. So Texans keeping me busy. Definitely a lot going on with everything that they're doing, and it's been interesting to track these draft visits. I don't know if it necessarily means which player they'll pick because, obviously they're not going to reveal their hand. It's chess, not checkers, but this is some of the latest information that I can give you guys, kind of breaking down the local prospect day that we recapped, some of the latest draft visits, and kind of what's next, what's ahead for the week. And as I said, there's going to be a big-time defensive tackle that's going to visit the Texans, at least he's scheduled to visit the Texans this week. So guys, thanks for liking and subscribing to the channel and for watching me on Twitter and X at @AaronWilson_NFL, Instagram AaronWilson7128, watching me with Randy McElvoy and R. Alexander at KPRC2, and I'll be on Sports Sunday talking about the Jalen Petrie contract, talking about the draft if we have time, see if the time slot works, but we'll get into definitely the Jalen Petrie deal and what it means. I expect a press conference for Jalen perhaps as soon as Tuesday at NRG Stadium, and of course, I'm on www.click2houston.com, which is free of charge. So yeah, please check us out there. And yeah, look forward to our next conversation. So I'll be planning some more videos. And yeah, thanks for tuning in.